This demented ripper cut a trail of death across the French countryside in 1897, leaving 11 known victims in his wake. Friend, before we go any further, I would like to humbly request you please subscribe to my channel. So I can reach 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Your support truly means the world to me. So please subscribe. Just a few years after the Jack the Ripper murders terrified England, France faced its own nightmare. A killer began roaming the countryside, targeting young shepherd boys and girls who tended sheep in lonely fields. His name was Joseph Vacher, and the newspapers called him the Killer of Little Shepherds. His crimes were so shocking that even the New York Times reported on them, claiming that Vacher's acts surpassed in number and atrocity those of the Whitechapel murderer. Hello viewers, today we're uncovering the unsettling case of Joseph Vacher, the so-called Killer of Little Shepherds, whose brutal crimes across the French countryside in the 1890s shocked an entire nation and left investigators scrambling. To catch a predator hiding in plain sight, without further delay, let's begin unraveling this disturbing story. Of course, there was a key difference between this French killer and London's Jack the Ripper. Vacher was caught, he was arrested, put on trial, found guilty, and beheaded. Maybe that's why Jack the Ripper still overshadows Vacher in serial killer history. Yet, it's in Vacher's trial and conviction where some of the most fascinating parts of his story truly emerge. Born into poverty in 1869, Vacher was the youngest of 15 children. As a young man, he joined the army, but his time there was short. Not long after enlisting, Vacher tried to end his own life by slashing his throat, leading to his discharge and return home, trying to start a new life. Vacher fell for a housemaid in 1893 and proposed to her, but when she rejected him, Vacher snapped. He shot her 4 times and then turned the gun on himself, firing 2 bullets into his own head. Amazingly, both of them survived. However, the gunshots paralyzed part of Vacher's face, and 1 bullet stayed lodged in his ear for the rest of his life, leaving him with a haunting deformity that he would carry into his dark future. Vacher himself later said that the way strangers looked at his deformity fueled his violent outbursts. After the attempted murder-homicide, he was placed in a mental institution. A year later, in April 1894, doctors declared Vacher completely cured and released him, but they were wrong. Just weeks after leaving the hospital in the summer of 1894, Vacher claimed his first victim, a young factory girl whom he suffocated and then stabbed to death. The murder began a bloody spree. For the next 3 years, Vacher wandered through the countryside of southeastern France, preying on the young and vulnerable. His victims were stabbed and often sexually assaulted. As a drifter, Vacher moved from town to town, picking up day labor work to survive. In August 1897, Vacher tried to assault a woman who was gathering wood, but the woman and her husband, who was foraging nearby, fought him off. They overpowered Vacher and turned him in to the authorities. Once in custody, Vacher confessed to killing and mutilating 11 people, most of them young farm boys and girls watching their flocks. When the news of his crime spread, newspapers gave him his grim nickname. Some believe that Vacher killed even more than the 11 he admitted to, with estimates suggesting he may have taken as many as 27 lives. In his confession, Vacher claimed that he committed the murders in moments of frenzy. The condition of his victims' bodies seemed to confirm this, as they were stabbed many times, sometimes disemboweled, and often sexually assaulted. After his capture, Vacher claimed he was insane, saying he had been sent by God, or that a rabid dog had bitten him and poisoned his blood. The trial began in October 1898. Throughout the proceedings, Vacher behaved erratically, often howling and shouting strange statements about salvation. Some people believed that Vacher was acting this way on purpose to appear insane and avoid the death penalty. His trial quickly turned into a media spectacle. Of all the people who took the witness stand, the most notable was criminologist Alexandre Lacassagne. Lacassagne's life seemed like something out of a Sherlock Holmes story. He was a pioneer in forensic science, studying toxicology, bloodstain patterns, and decomposition. In one famous case, he examined a body that had decayed for 4 months and still figured out that the victim was a smoker with chestnut hair and a slight limp. Lacassagne also founded the Lacassagne School of Criminology, where he taught students. to study bullet paths and the angles of stab wounds. According to author Douglas Starr in The Killer of Little Shepherds, Lacassagne was the star of Vacher's trial. Lacassagne didn't just bring expert opinion to the courtroom. He brought the cutting edge of forensic science of the time. His testimony convinced the court that Vacher was sane and fully responsible for his crimes. In the end, Vacher was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. In the early hours of December 31, 1898, Joseph Vacher was dragged to the guillotine and executed at just 29 years old. For Alexandre Lacosny, the trial marked a high point in a brilliant criminal justice career. He had already investigated the 1894 assassination of French President Sadi Carnot, and in 1923 he petitioned for the creation of the International Police Commission, which would later become Interpol, helping to track and share data on criminals across borders for decades to come. The chilling legacy of Joseph Vacher, the killer of little shepherds, remains a dark reminder of how even the most terrifying predators can eventually face justice. Viewers, this was the chilling story of Joseph Vacher, the killer of little shepherds, whose brutal crimes left France in fear until justice finally caught up with him. What are your thoughts on this chilling story? Share your opinions in the comments below. We'd love to know how you feel about these shocking events. If this chilling story gripped you, like, share, and subscribe for more true crime cases that peel back the darkest layers of history. And remember, if you or someone you know is struggling with heavy thoughts, reach out to a mental health professional. Your life and well-being are far more important than any story we cover here. Take care, and until next time, another haunting case awaits.